Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today in this following Swift evolution video we're gonna take a look at a new feature, a small improvement that comes with Swift 5.3. This proposal is especially nice for those like me that don't like to write self everywhere. There are projects where the team decides that that's a good thing to do for clarity, but I'm more in favor of what Swift intended, which is the self is implicit and you just want to have it there when you want to bring attention to the code that it's accessing it. That's usually reserved for closures where retained cycles can happen. You want to just use self in those occasions, so when you're reading code and you see a self dot, it's like, wait, what's going on here? So you pay more attention. If you put self everywhere, you lose that kind of niceness that comes from short syntax when you don't need it, and then seeing self means that something is going on there. So that's a nice thing to do. It's something I really love, and there are some occasions where you cannot do that because the compiler expects you to use self when it should be already implicit because there is no kind of ambiguity in that aspect. So this proposal changes this aspect and makes referencing self not needed in two specific occasions, which shouldn't have any added problem. So let's take a look at an example when self is not required anymore. Let's pretend that we have this class test with a property in the class, and then we have this method that accepts an escaping closure and it performs the work that you passed in that closure. And then we have this other method that is actually gonna use this execute with the escaping closure, and here we want to mutate that variable, that property of the class itself. This, as you can see, it doesn't compile because you are accessing self from an escaping closure, so the compiler tells you that you need to fix it, you need to be explicit, and that's supposed to make you think about the reference cycle that may happen when you write this kind of code. But then sometimes you may have something like this where you explicitly declare that you are capturing self on the capture list of the closure. Then it makes this redundant because yes, I already know what I'm doing, trust me, I'm a professional, and you don't need to specify this anymore. So on previous versions of the compiler, this is an issue. If we show that this actually compiles and runs, you can see how this is just the toolchain and the playgrounds don't working nicely together. But you can see how the compiler doesn't complain and it compiles and you don't need this anymore. This is the first scenario where it makes sense when you are being explicit about what you're doing in one place, that there is no need to do it everywhere else inside the closure. For the second scenario that this proposal improves, let's jump into a project with SwiftUI where we have a view that we're going to be modifying. And this is important because this second part of the proposal tells us that when you're using value types, actually referencing self, it's not a problem because you're not creating cycles because they are not reference types. To show that and how it really improves the syntax in SwiftUI and makes it really nicer to read, let's take a look at this view and let's tweak it a little bit. Here we have a SwiftUI view with a button, and then in the closure of the button you are accessing a property on self to increase this number. And of course we see how to access the number we actually need to put self here. This is kind of annoying because it depends on the view that you're using, and if that view it has escaping closure or it's just like a function builder that doesn't escape its closure. It's really annoying because sometimes you have self, sometimes you don't, and then it's like, where should we put self everywhere, and then defeats the purpose of having nice syntax in Swift. This is really annoying, but if we switch to the new toolchain, we can see how we can get rid of the self indication here, and if we compile, everything compiles and the compiler doesn't complain. And that's because the compiler knows that this is a struct and this is not an issue that we need to be explicit about. So these are the two scenarios that this new proposal covers. They may seem like small additions, but I think they will have a big impact on the way we write codes, especially in SwiftUI, and it will be really, really nice. So thank you all for watching. If you learn a little bit with this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you all very much and see you next time.